Hello, my friends. It is day 7 for Advent of Code. I've recorded myself doing all of this, the whole thing, and I don't know if I want to upload this because it just took longer than it's supposed to take, and the video would be like an hour and a half long, and I don't want that. So I'm gonna shorten it, and I'm just gonna do the explanation and show where I kind of had issues with the challenge. Um, Not that there shouldn't have been issues. I mean, it was a pretty straightforward challenge, especially the part two was not that didn't make part one that much more difficult. It just took me 3 attempts to think it the right way, and took too long in those other 2 ways to do that. And that is maybe something that you can take out of this is especially if you do like interviews, coding interviews, and stuff like this. Like, don't just start coding the first thing that comes into your mind. Think it through. Hey, and then stop and be like, hey, is there other ways to think it through or to do? And okay, maybe stop. Wait, that's maybe still not the fastest. And just talk it out, talk it through with your interviewer, and then hopefully you get into the right solution. So I'm going to show you what my thoughts were without having to go through the like writing the whole code again, without just stumbling through and being just like the whole time. So let's get into part one. So today's challenge is camel cards. Essentially, we're playing poker. Except that the cards only have values, they don't have suits. And we want to sort the cards by the hands by strength. The cards have a hand has 5 cards, like some of the variations of poker. And we order the type of hand, but from strongest to weakest, with most of the things that sound very recognizable, like 4 of a kind and so on. In this case, we have possible 5 of a kind, 4 of a kind, a full house, which essentially is just 3 cards and 2 cards with the same value, like a 2, 3, 3, 2, for example. Then we have a 3 of a kind, a 2 pairs, that is 2 of the same kind and 2 of the same kind and 1 that is different. Then we have a 1 pair, where there's only 2 of the same kind and everything else is different. And then we have a high card with 5 different cards. We don't have a straight, we don't have a flush, we don't have a royal flush, a straight flush, and so on, because we don't have a suit. That makes it easier. You'll notice a lot of these things here have been made easier for us, and yet it took me about an hour to finish both parts. Part 2 should have only taken me 5-10 minutes longer, not half an hour longer. So what exactly is our value? Is our input? This is our example input, and you see we get always on the left side we get the hand, on the right side we get a bet, some type of numeric value bet of like, hey, this is how good I think my hand is. And what we want to do is our task is sort the hands with the bets and then multiply the bets by their rank. So the weakest one is multiplied by 1, the second one is multiplied by 2, the strongest one is multiplied by whatever. In this case, it would be by 5. So, and then we add them all up together and get a number out of this. What we need to consider is one thing, and I'm going to show you. So the first thing, the way that the ranking works in this, is the type, obviously. So like we saw before, if we have ace, 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 5, 3, that is a 3 of a kind. Okay, and if we have a king and a 2 and a 2 and a 5, well, that is 2 pairs. This one will beat this one. Okay, that is part 1, and I don't know why I have this red, but I can change that. That is not a problem. Now, the second thing to consider is, let's say we have 2 full houses. Okay, we have a 2, 2, 3, 3, 3. And then we have a 3, 3, 2, 2, 2. Usually, in normal poker, this one would be stronger than this one because the one with the highest, the more importance is a 3 of a kind instead of the pair. and that one has a higher value than this 3 of a kind. In this version though, for this challenge, again, it makes it easier for us as coders. They're not overcomplicating things, they're making things a lot easier. And it should have been easy for me, is that you compare from left, oh, I'm so sorry. You compare from left to right, so you compare 2 and 3, and you already know this one has 1. Now, if the order here, let's say the order, that went a bit fast. I don't know where it went, that is fine. Let's say the order is this: 3, 3, 2, 2, 3. And then we have 3, 3, 2, 2, 2. Then up until this point, both hands are exactly the same. Only at this point is when we know that the top hand has 1. Because both of them have 3 of a kind. This one is in normal poker. This one would be the stronger 3 of a kind because it has 3 3s. This down one has 3 2s. But in our scenario, we only know the type is the same and the first 4 cards are the same. It's only this point here that we know that the top one wins. And this is how we have to decide which card goes above one another in the ranking and to then give them the value paid out. Okay, so how does this look like in code? This is my GitHub. So I have already cleaned up and everything because in the panic I had to copy everything and make it twice. But here's what I did. I have my solve function and I am adding in my values and my parts. And then I have here a global hand value. The reason is for part 2. So ignore this part for now and I'll explain in a second. But our hand values are ace, king, queen, jack, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, really is the other way around. If you want to think from weaker to stronger, here I've done it from stronger to weaker. It's fine. Okay, then I will count up the winnings. I really can add this down here. That is fine. And my hands here, I can put down here. That is also fine. Then I have my words because I want to go through words because it's just how it goes in my input. And then for line by line, I added into my array the following things. I first calculate what type of hand type it is. And I do it in numeric values so the sorting later is easier. Then I add the string of my hands so that I can do a card by card comparison. And then I add the integer value of my bet. And that's it. That's how I parse my input. Very, very simple. And add it into here. And then, so we need to look into hand type. How am I calculating the hand type? Then I sort the hands. Now here, it took me 10 minutes or something to figure out how Python did it. And I remembered kind of correctly. I just forgot how exactly, that Python doesn't compare like other programming languages. So many other programming languages want to, when you use your own compare function, they want you to return a 0, 1, or -1 to say, hey, is left or right stronger or are they equal? Python doesn't want that. Python wants you to give it the keys. So in order to work, there is a functools compared to key, and then we have then we add our function into it. In that way, it gives it into a way that Python likes it, and I can work with the 1, -1, and 0 that I'm used to. This is already where I need to go away and learn how to do it the Python way. Every day I take out one way to learn something. One new thing that I want to try to memorize to do next time. I have already tried to implement something in here from one of the previous days. I thought during my programming I did, and I didn't end up needing it. But I did use it for a short moment until I didn't need it anymore, which is the list comprehension. I've taken away how to do list comprehension, and I wanted to use it, so I've added it. I didn't need it, so but at least I know how to use it. This time I want to learn the sort function, so that next time I can use the sort function without an issue, that I can just use it the Python way, because I want to improve, and I hope I hope this helps you realizing, hey, if I take one challenge at a time, one practical thing, I can improve in my programming language too. So we're sorting, which is amazing, because now that we're sorting, we can calculate the winnings. And this is where I might actually do list comprehension as well. I might look into how to do list comprehension here as well. But no, because I don't want a list. I just want the value at the end. I would want to do reduce or some type of array function. But I have my winnings, and I enumerate through my hands with the I and H so that I have my rank. The rank really is I plus 1, so that I have this here, and I multiply that by the bitting value of the hand. And that's it. And that's what I add to the winnings. So, 2 things that are left now for this challenge. How do we do the hand type, and how is our sorting function? Let's go to our hand type first. We're going to ignore this part for now. We're going to go back to that for part 2. This is the first and biggest key. Counter. I remember that from last year because I did a timer with Python last year as well. Counter. Amazing. So it's from the collections as call, and I use counter. The cool thing about counter is you just need to give it a string, and counter is like, haha, I gotcha. I know that you want, out of this string, you want to count the characters. So it counts the characters for us. It's amazing. In that way, we already have now all of the characters counted. So if we have 2 kings or 3 kings, it will tell us how many kings there are, because they're represented by a single character. What we do then, we get the most common 2. I only need the 2 most common ones. I don't need any of the 3. And I say if the first most common is a value of 3, and the second one is a value of 2, then I know I need the 4th position. What's 4th position? I told you the order of the hand types is this essentially. So 5 of a kind is highest, then 4 of a kind, then full house, then 3 of a kind, then 2 pair, 1 pair, and nothing, or called the high card. Right? Could do a H with that. So H is 0. This one is 1, this one is 2, this one is 3, this one is 4, this one is 5, and this one is 6. So I know the full house, 3 and 2, that will give me a 4. Then if both highest cards have a count of 2 and 2, then I know my value is 2, because I have 2 pairs. 1 pair is just the same as 2 of a kind. This is 3, this is a 2 of a kind, right? If the amount for the first highest card is greater than 3, well, then I have 4 or 5, so my value that I return is 5 or 6. And if it is 3, like this one, then I know the value is 3. And all other cases, which is these 2 cases, then I return 1 less than the highest card count. And this is all I need. I just need a numeric value to kind of compare the types. Hey, which type is better than the other? And this is how I do this. I just, hey, count how many cards there are. I'll explain this part in a second, like I said. Now, we're sorting. We take the hand values, the global thing, and we sort after 2 criteria. First, the hand type. So the first value in our hand is the type. And the second value of our hands is the actual character values. So we check the first one. Hey, if the type of A is bigger than B, return a 1. That's our comparison function, right? If it's smaller, then return a -1. Otherwise, we know that they're the same. So we both have a full house, for example. Okay, let's check which one is a strong full house. And this is where, again, they made it easy for us. We don't need to consider, hey, which of the 3 cards have the higher amount. No, we just want to consider left to right. So we go from left to right, from I0 to 4, and say, hey, if the value, and then that we have the hand values here so that we know which one is higher than the other, or I guess lower is higher in this case, we take the index and we check, hey, from the this is now the extra string of the hands. We take that character and we cook, hey, look, what's the index? If the index is lower, that means it is the higher card, return 1. If the index is higher than from the second hand, then we know it's a lower hand, and we return -1. If it isn't either of those, it goes through the for loop again and again and again until it finds one, or it doesn't. That means we have 2 identical hands, and we are returning a 0. Which shouldn't happen, by the way. That shouldn't happen in this. Advent of Code is pretty good usually at doing that there is one answer and exactly one answer. But that's our sort hand function. The cool thing about the sort hand function is this is all the same between part 1 and 2. The only thing that will change is hand's value. So what changes in part 2, you might ask? Part 2 is a very simple change that shouldn't have taken me another 30 minutes. And I show you my mistakes that I've done. J is now a joker, not a jack. That changes 2 things. First, the joker is considered a wild card and can take the place of any other card. So if we have 3 kings, a joker, and a 2, the joker now is a king. And so we have a 4 of a kind and not a 3 of a kind like we would have in the last round. To balance this out, J is now the weakest card and is not between 10 and queen anymore, but is instead before the 2. And that is the 2 changes. That is literally the 2 changes. Everything is the same. So this shouldn't have been that much more difficult, and really isn't once I figured out the solution. Changing the hand value is very simple. I just say if the part is 2, then change the order of the values. And that's it. Okay, that has already sorted out for me the comparison function. Now the only thing that's different is the hand types. And this, I have to say, took me too long, I have to say, because I worked on I overthought the process of, okay, I need so many cards being not a jack and then so many cards being a jack. And I tried to find groupings of these types of instructions. But I had to think very careful about these. I had to construct in the same way that I have done this down here in my hand types, right? Where I just say, hey, I need 3 of this, 2 of that, except that I needed to be very precise about, hey, if that is a jack, then this needs to be different, and so on and so on. And yes, that is a valid solution. But the problem is, it's overcomplicating it, and it is easy to make mistakes. That is the biggest issue with this. So what I should have done, and I would recommend if you ever had coding interviews, is talk this out. Hey, that is a way to do it. And then step back for a second. Wait, is there another way to do this? Obviously, there's a time challenge of doing the Advent of Code, but it could have saved me a lot of time if I just had thought about this solution, which actually makes it a lot easier. So, what is the second solution? The second solution, and actually it was my third solution. I had 2 failed attempts before and that took way too long. Scratched each of those until I had this idea. Okay, this idea is this. I count the J's, add them to the largest non-J number, and remove them from the J counter. That's it. Because if the largest one is kings, great, then now the kings has also the jacks in it. And that's a 4 of a kind, 5 of a kind, whatever. So I take the 5 most common before I take the 2 most common. And I say, hey, if the largest one is not a jack, then please add jack, the jack value, the count of jack, to that value. And say jack value is 0. That's simple. Otherwise, I only need the top 2 because I'm only comparing the top 2, remember? Otherwise, if I actually have 2 top values, if there's only one, that means we have all jacks. But if that's not the case, and the second one is also not a jack, well, the second one is not a jack, but the first one is a jack, well, we add all of the jacks to the second one and remove the jacks from the list. Now, I take the 2 most common ones and do the exact same thing as before. Now you might wonder, hey, doesn't that change the second part because the jacks can now be a king or a queen? No, because again, they made it simple for us, saying here that for the second type of comparison, here this jack counts as a 5 to say it is a 4 of a kind. But when we compare it card by card with other ones, it is still considered a jack and is the lowest value. So I don't need to remember anything. And so the sorting function is exactly the same and nothing else changes. This is the solution, or it's my solution, a very simple solution to get to this. I hope this has been helpful to see my thinking process and the mistakes that I did and what I'm taking out. For me, I'm taking out to pause, even if I'm under time pressure, and think, is there another way to think about this? And the second thing I'm taking out is I need to learn Python sort. I need to learn how that works. Because, yeah, I'm just used all of the other functions, all of the other programming languages that do it differently. So I hope this has been helpful and enjoyable, and I see you at tomorrow's challenge. Auf Wiedersehen.